I am here at the studios of KALW with Karuna Jagger, Executive Director of Breast Cancer Action, and we just finished doing a radio show about breast cancer treatments, where we're at, the Pink Ribbon campaign. And Karuna, thank you for sticking around for a few more minutes. So 40,000 women still die every year in the United States from breast cancer. How do you explain that with so much awareness, billions of dollars being spent on research?
Yeah. We're focusing on the wrong things. We're focusing on screening, and what we see is that despite the promise that early detection will save lives, it is not saving lives. We've seen too few breakthroughs in treatments, and while there have been some, there's just not enough. Treatment remains largely the same as it was 25 years ago. It's often called slash burn poison: surgery, radiation, chemotherapy. There's a very small number of true breakthrough drugs on the market that are making a real difference for some women. But I look back to our organization's founding 25 years ago, and on the flyer that our founders distributed around San Francisco, kind of calling out to the community to come create breast cancer action, they said 45,000 women die each year of breast cancer. The number today, 40,000. 25 years later, billions of dollars spent on the disease. And so we know we're not making the headway that we need to make in this epidemic, and I think we need to refocus and look at true prevention, primary prevention, and look at the environmental links to the disease so that we're stopping cancer before it starts.
Okay, so when you think about the people who are making all of these decisions, the people that are funneling the money to the researchers and the people doing the research, what needs to change?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a big question. Here's what I would say. Academia always, research always, it's hard to break out of the box, right? And so there's been some great pieces in academic journals about sort of the challenges of breaking out of the current paradigm in our understanding of cancer. But as a watchdog, I have a slightly different take on it. And my focus is really on the cancer industry. It's on the ways in which the different pieces that are engaged in this reinforce each other. And so you have corporate polluters that are using chemicals in their products and services that we know are increasing the risk of breast and a whole host of other cancers. And then those corporations make charitable contributions, maybe through a foundation, to cancer organizations to sort of manage the effects of this growing cancer population. But there's a real corrupting influence there. And so you see that the leading cancer organizations aren't taking a stand on the environmental links that are driving this epidemic. And we end up with this very circular profit cycle that we call the cancer industry. Susan G. Komen is the largest breast cancer organization in the world. I don't know their current numbers, but they're well over, last I heard, well over $400 million each year. A minority of that, about 18%, is spent on research. So there's a different question: what are they doing with the money? And that's gotten a whole lot of attention. The American Cancer Society is one of the top 10 charities in this country. It's the largest cancer organization, and it is close to $1 billion in annual revenue. These are huge, huge nonprofits. And when folks think nonprofit, they think that they're there for patients. But I'm telling you, these organizations are not getting their funding from people like you and me. Most of that funding to get into the hundreds of millions of dollars is coming from corporations. And those corporations are influencing the agenda, I believe.
The Think Before You Pink campaign has gotten a lot of attention. You've exposed the fact that a lot of the products these companies are pushing have links to cancer. The problem is, when people read these studies, there's always a study that refutes that study. So what would you say about causes? I mean, you're talking about these chemicals in makeup, for example, and none of these chemicals have been tested.
Yeah, well,
most of them, the majority.
Have. Right, and I think the question is sort of, what is our standard of testing?
Right.
So if you're looking at a drug, a therapy, treatment, the gold standard is a randomized controlled trial. Well, unfortunately, with environmental exposures, two problems. One is you can't find a control group at this point. Most of us are exposed to hundreds of chemicals. You can find hundreds of chemicals in all of our bodies just from our lives in the modern world. So you can't get a control group. But the second thing is It's wrong. It's immoral to expose people knowingly to known and suspected, health harms. And so we are not and should not pursue the randomized controlled model when it comes to environmental links to health harm. We need a different model, and that means we need to act on the data that is available. And data that is available is lab data, some animal data, some small community data where you can see that there's been a particularly high, an accident, an act of war, particularly high exposure to a particular community, and following them over time. What we know right now is that breast cancer is a hormone-driven disease. We know that some of the most common treatments for breast cancer alter the hormones. That's the response. And we know that many products in our daily lives, and in particular right now we're focusing on some personal care products and cosmetics, contain hormone disruptors. And so we have a situation in which the American Cancer Society, remember that's the $1 billion, nearly $1 billion nonprofit, is partnered up with the Personal Care Products Council. That's the largest trade association for the personal care and cosmetics company. They partnered up to do a program they call Look Good, Feel Better, where they give cancer patients tips on, I believe they call the appearance-related side effects of treatment. Now, never mind that the cosmetics could have increased the risk of cancer in the first place. Now we have cancer patients in active treatment, and they're being given tips. It's hard to walk through the world with no eyebrows, and a lot of there are people who find real value in those tips and in that sense of community. But they're also being given bags with donated cosmetics. And when our members in cancer treatment, or members with metastatic disease who are the targets of this program, when they sent us the bag that they were given, just scanning through the list of ingredients, and again, there's a lot of ingredients that don't even make it onto the list of disclosed ingredients, just looking at the disclosed ingredients, we found hormone disruptors, formaldehyde releasers, Teflon fragrance, a whole host of chemicals that are of deep concern. We know, I've already been through sort of the breast cancer is a hormone-driven disease and treatments alter hormones. We know that one of the chemicals in a couple of these products called methylparaben has been shown in a lab to interfere with tamoxifen, which is the most common breast cancer treatment. So you've got the American Cancer Society partnered up with the Personal Care Products Council giving cancer patients bags of donated cosmetics. Those cosmetics may interfere with cancer treatment. There's not enough data on that, but what there is alarming. Cancer patients are not immune from secondary cancers, right? They can get cancer again. And cancer treatment can often induce chemical sensitivity. And so for all these reasons, we feel that this program is irresponsible, and we're in its current form, and we are asking the American Cancer Society and Personal Care Products Council to do a simple thing. In their program, to ensure that no company that uses chemicals that can increase the risk of cancer or interfere with cancer treatment, no company using those chemicals can participate in the program by donating products. It's that simple. So I hope that the country's largest cancer charity and the largest trade association of the Personal Care Products Council will step up and use this program that they care so much about to really protect patients and prevent cancer, because they can do something meaningful here.
What does the cancer organization benefit? How do they benefit by giving out these products?
It's their corporate donors. So the American Cancer Society has, there's quite an interesting history, which we probably don't have time to go into the whole thing, but the American Cancer Society has really not only failed to be a leader on environmental links to cancer, but in many cases has been real deniers of that. They like to say, I've been in conversation with both organizations, and the American Cancer Society assures me that they follow evidence-based interventions, and for them that includes smoking reduction, because smoking has been linked to cancer. I don't know how long it took them to get to that position with all the years of data, but currently they work to reduce smoking. They have some lifestyle change things that we've talked about, weight loss, moderate alcohol consumption, those sorts of things. And getting patients to cancer treatments, which I will agree is vitally important. But that's a pretty weak standard for evidence-based interventions, and it leaves a lot of room for the American Cancer Society to do more to truly prevent cancer. And I think, protecting patients from chemicals which we know can increase the risk of disease and can interfere with treatment is just a first step.
And what is next for Breast Cancer Action? I mean, what is at the top of your list right now? Because there's so many things to keep track of, whether it's mammogram testing, funding for research, think before you pink. We talked about so many issues on today's show and only scratched the surface on a few.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as the watchdog for the breast cancer movement, we hold all of that. And I think one of the things that makes us very unique is that we don't put the needs of women living with disease above the needs of women at risk of the disease. We hold those two side by side and feel, you know, committed to the fact that we got to take care of both pieces of it, both sides. We need more effective, less toxic treatments, and we need to stop this epidemic. So we balance our work across a pretty broad, set of areas. You know, we work around screening, diagnosis, and treatment. Some of that's the mammography screening education to make sure women have independent, evidence-based information as they make their healthcare decisions. Some of it's testifying at the FDA, bringing a patient perspective on new drug and device approvals. We do have an information and resource line for newly diagnosed women and their loved ones. We do work like this around the root causes of the disease. So trying to, you know, again, this is the anti-fracking work. This is, you know, the work to protect all of us from environmental exposures that are increasing the risk of breast cancer and other diseases and disorders. And in particular in October, you know, it's not limited to October, but we're really right now focused on this pink ribbon culture and marketing piece. And the fact that not only do we not have enough to show for the billions of dollars spent in the name of breast cancer, but many of these pink ribbon campaigns actively harm women in really serious ways, from fear-mongering, you know, promoting a lot of misinformation, obscuring the lived realities of the disease by painting kind of this, you know, tyranny of cheerfulness and cult of survivor, and an implicit message that if the women who died just didn't fight hard enough. And so we're always pushing back on this, you know, singular mainstream. And really, I want to say again, it's a corporate storyline of breast cancer, because death doesn't sell. And so you need to make breast cancer palatable and packageable to put a pink ribbon on it and go out and sell your products.
Karuna Jagger is Executive Director of Breast Cancer Action, the only breast cancer organization that has taken a stand against fracking. They do not take any corporate money. And find more information at bcaction.org.
Yeah.
And our radio show is right under this video. Thank you, Karuna.
Oh, thank you. It was really great to be with you.